Hi, student. I am Mr. D. I am your teacher for this time. And my intention today is teach you about how to add and subtract positive and negative number. Today is a beautiful day to learn how to add and subtract positive and negative number. You want to know more about mathematics, you can go to my page www.math2growth.com. In this page, in this web page, you can find many exercises to practice about how to add and subtract positive and negative number. Before to teach you how to add and subtract negative and positive numbers, I want to do some introduction because you need to know some beautiful and important things. You need to remember, for example, when you had two positive signs consecutive one another sign, the final sign is positive. And you have one positive and another negative, the final sign is negative. And when you have two signs, one negative and another positive, when you combine these two signs, the answer is negative. And finally, when you have two negative signs, the final sign is positive. For example, you have this number 34, but before the positive 34, you have the positive sign, the answer is positive 34. But if you have negative 34 and the sign before the negative 34 is positive, positive with negative is going to give you negative. Now the answer is negative. But that is very important. You see, you can switch the sign. You have positive and negative, the answer is negative. But if you have negative and positive, the answer is negative too. Then this is another example, the same thing. You have negative from the 34 positive, the answer is negative. You can switch the sign. Now always different sign, the answer is negative. And finally you have the negative sign before the negative number, the answer is positive. For example, you have 2 minus negative 5. You have the negative number from another negative number. And you say negative, negative, you change by positive. Now, in this case, 2 minus negative 5 is 2 plus 5. And now, for example, you have 2 plus and negative 5, positive and negative is going to be changed by negative. Now, positive from the negative, change the final sign is negative. Now 2 plus negative 5 is 2 minus 5. Similar situation. You have negative from the positive number. Remember, you change the number by negative. And finally, I can give you this final conclusion. If you have two equal consecutive signs, you return positive. When you have two different consecutive signs, return is negative. Then remember, positive and positive always is positive. Negative with negative always is positive. But you have different signs is negative. Continue with the introductions. I'm going to use two circles. One circle represents the negative one, and another circle with the sign positive and the color blue represent positive one. Now every moment when you see negative, the red circle with the negative sign, this represents the negative one. And when you see this blue circle with the positive sign inside, that represents positive one. Now, if you add this to number, evident the answer is 0. Now, when you have a pair of circles, we're going to name 0 pairs. Each pair of that circles represent 0. Now, I'm going to name 0 pair. For example, I have this operation. I'm going to add negative 4 plus positive 6. How would I represent the negative 4? I represent the negative 4 using 4 negative red circle. Because remember, the red circle means that the negative 1. And how to represent the number 6? I represent the number 6 using 6 blue circle with the positive sign inside. You see here in this situation, I had 4 pairs of 0 pairs. 4 0 pairs. And now is this 0 pairs, the value is 0. Now you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. But at the end, I have 2 positive circles. And remember, each positive circle represents the number positive 1. Now, how many circles positive I have it? I have 2 positive circles. Then the final answer is 2. We're going to continue now teaching to you how to add 2 positive numbers. To add 2 positive numbers, for example, positive 4 plus positive 6, I'm going to use the positive 4 circles and the 6 positive circle to represent this operation. Now, you see now, I had 4 positive circles plus 6 positive circles. In this case, I don't have any 0 pair. I don't have 0 pair in this situation because I don't have any red circle. If you count the number of circles, we conclude we have 10 circles. What is my conclusion? Well, in this case, I can say I don't have any 0 pairs. Do not exceed 0 pairs, and all numbers are positive. Then the answer is positive. And the final answer is the sum of all circle positive. Now, that's very important. If you have 2 positive numbers, if you are adding 2 positive numbers, the answer always is positive. And the final answer is the sum of these 2 numbers. 4 and 6 are positive numbers. Now my answer is positive. And if you add 4 and 6, you have 10 as the final answer. This, for example, another example is 23 plus 12. What am I going to do this? Listen, both numbers are positive. Then the answer is going to be positive. In this case, I don't have 0 pairs because all the numbers are positive. Now, because all numbers are positive, my answer is positive. And what is the final answer? Then now you add 23 and 12, and the final answer is 35. We now continue how to add 2 negative numbers. For example, I'm going to use these operations, negative 4 and negative 6. Remember, the red circle represents the negative numbers, and the blue circle represents the positive numbers. In my case, I don't have, in my addition, I don't have positive numbers. Now what I'm going to do, I select 4 red circle and another 6 red circle. How many red circles I have now? I have 10 red circles. But what is the sign? I don't have another sign. I have only one sign. My sign is negative. I don't have positive sign in my situation. Then that is the reason, because I don't have another sign that's negative, my answer is negative. Then, do not exceed 0 pair, and all numbers are negative. Because all numbers are negative, then the answer is negative. And the final answer is the sum of all negative numbers. I had 4 negative numbers, and in another half I had 6 negative numbers, 4 negative numbers, plus 6 negative number is 10 negative number. I had 4 negative circles and 6 negative circles. How many red circles I have now in this situation? I have 10 red circles and the red circle represents the negative value. Then my answer is negative 10. For example, in this case, I want to add these two numbers because in this example, both numbers are negative, do not exceed 0 pairs. Because do not exceed 0 pairs, because the both numbers have negative, the answer is negative. And finally, what do you find the final answer? You add 23 and 12, and the answer is 35 with the same sign. Now, if I have the additions of two numbers with the same sign, what do you have to do? You keep the sign and you add the numbers. How to add one positive and one negative? For example, I have 4 plus negative 6. I represent 4 by 4 positive circle, and I represent 6 by 6 negative circle. But in this case, I have 0 pairs. For example, I have 1 0 pair, another 0 pair, another 0 pair, and finally another 0 pair. How many 0 pair I have in this problem? 4 0 pair. Remember, each 0 pair represent 0. Now, and at the end, I have only 2 circles with the negative sign. Only 2. How many circles you have with the negative sign? 2 circles with the negative sign. Okay, I have 4 positive circles. I have 6 negative circles and 4 0 pair. A number of negative sign is greater than a number of positive sign. Then the answer is negative, because the negative sign is the sign more frequently. When the sign more frequently is negative, the final answer is negative. In my case, in my example, this negative number is more frequently than the positive number. Now my answer is negative. And what do you have to do to find the final value? You subtract the more frequently numbers and the least frequently number. The more frequently number is 6, and the least frequently number is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Now my final answer is negative 2. Another example. How to add one positive and one negative number. Now in my case, I had 43 plus negative 54. Positive and negative. What I had to do? Number 1, I had 43 positive sign. I had 54 negative sign. Because a number of negative sign is greater than the number of positive sign, my answer is negative. Because the more frequently sign is negative, is 54. What I had to do now? Just subtract the greater frequently minus the least frequently, and this is 11. And finally, my answer is negative 11. What is negative? Because the sign more frequently in my problem is the negative sign. How to subtract two positive numbers? Now, in my case, I'm going to subtract now two positive numbers. I'm going to change this operation by this. You remember at the beginning of the introduction, negative with positive, you can switch by positive and negative. I switch negative positive by positive and negative. And now I have the situation with adding two numbers. One number is positive and another number is negative. What I have to do? I need to find what is the more frequently sign. 43 positive sign, 54 negative sign. 54 is greater than 43. Then the answer has to be negative, because the number of negative sign is greater than 43. It's more frequently the negative sign than the positive sign. Now you subtract the two numbers, 11, and final answer is negative 11. Remember, when you need to subtract, in this case, one positive, one negative, only you need to find what is the more frequently signed. And the more frequently signed, that's the sign of the operation. And you subtract the number, that's the final answer. Subtract two negative numbers. If you're going to subtract two negative numbers, remembering the introduction, you can change negative and negative by positive. Because negative and another negative continue to another negative is positive. Now I have the same situation. I add in now one negative and another positive number. You do the same step. 43 negative sign, 54 positive sign. 54 is greater than 43. The sign more frequently is positive. Now my final answer is positive. You subtract 54 and 43, and the final answer is 11 positive. In conclusions, when you want to add numbers with the same signs, it's very easy. You add the numbers and you keep the sign. If you need to add two negative numbers, you add the number and you use the negative number because you have only one sign. But in the case when you need to add numbers with different signs, you subtract the number and the final sign is the sign of more frequently. Then I give you thank you for this opportunity to pay attention to my class. Have a good day and visit my page www.math2growth.com, and you will find many exercises to help you to practice in this kind of the exercise. Thank you for this opportunity. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.